good to have you with us on the 9 p.m. edition of the Urban Debate. Viewers, one more time, we're going to talk about the future of this country, the youngsters, students in schools, and what will happen to their academics, to their education as we deal with coronavirus. It's been more than 2 months now since schools have been shut. It's going to be a while since the schools reopen. Even when they do, it will be very, very tricky and complicated how we handle all of this. And so here on the Urban Debate, we've had a number of conversations to talk about what should be the way forward in terms of reopening schools. And every time we've spoken about it, there's been a mention of online classes, of using the online medium in the meantime. In fact, if you're a parent or a student, especially in one of the big cities, you are probably already doing this. You probably already have somebody who's taking online classes, who's in a school where they've started these classes on a daily basis. But viewers, let me tell you something. In the state of Karnataka, the government has decided to ban online classes up to class 5th. For students up to class 5th, for now, until they do a deeper research and figure out a way forward, there won't be any online classes. And there are a number of reasons that the Karnataka government thinks were the reason and the cause behind this decision. For example, how much of screen time is all right for children of that age, for those between kindergarten and 5th standard? How many hours should they be spending in front of a screen? Because that's what you need for online classes. For example, what kind of exposure will they need in terms of socializing, in terms of being in the company of other children, and if online classes can actually be a long-term model? Then there is the issue of access. There's a lot of technology required to ensure that an online class is held without any glitches. Can you hear the teacher? Can the teacher really see you? Are you able to understand? Are you able to see what is being shared on the screen? How many people actually have the internet bandwidth to actually log into this class and understand what's going on? There are numerous of such technical glitches which are also being faced by many people. So tonight we thought, let's have a conversation whether or not to have online classes. Do online classes benefit us at this point of time? Let's keep long term aside for a moment. Let's just talk about the fact that we are living with a pandemic, and it probably won't be easy for everybody to go and attend this class full of 70 children for 6 straight hours and then come back home. That perhaps will not happen that easily this year. So as we work on alternate options, can online classes be one of those options? What about youngsters, especially those little children for whom the screen exposure becomes a very, very important tool, for whom understanding, interaction with the teacher becomes extremely important as well? Let's say good evening to the panelists who are joining us right now. Dr. Gitanjali Kumar, counseling psychologist, a CBSE helpline counselor, joins us this evening. Gurumurthy Kasinathan, an educationist, with us this evening. Gulnal Vir Krishna, a parent of a 4-year-old, is with us this evening. Ali Said, he's the CEO for a tech company, joining us this evening. And Seema Dharmadas, a parent who has a daughter who's in the 5th standard, is also joining us. We're also going to open up our phone lines. If you are a concerned parent or a student who's actually already participating in such classes, call us up, tell us what your experience is, and tell us what you think about if this should be the way forward. Let me actually begin with Seema Dharmadas. Seema, good evening to you. I understand your daughter is in 5th standard. Which city do you live in? Okay, I'll go across to Seema in just a bit. Let me first go across to Dr. Kumar and ask Dr. Kumar. Dr. Kumar, what is your own view? Is this a good option to be explored in pandemic times?
See, first of all, the answer cannot be a straight yes or a straight no. We need to first understand that the initial responses were coming out of our understanding of a chaotic situation when it actually happened. And so we thought, let's have online education to fit in as a response. But now it is more of understanding of a crisis. And in a crisis situation, I think now is high time for us to reimagine the transformation, and online education cannot actually replace the schooling experience. Online education is one of the tools of the pedagogy. We cannot take it as a philosophy. So I think we need to be very, very clear in our understanding. We are talking about, we really need to talk about reconstructing, re-engineering the school experience, where school is the learning experience, where school is not the only agent of that. We'll have to look at the multifarious modes available, and it is not only technology. We'll have to talk about digitalization. We'll have to talk about mobilization of various resources available in our country, despite our strengths and our limitations, which you also mentioned in your initial remark.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, but the fact of the matter is, for example, Dr. Kumar, very quickly, Karnataka has decided that at this point they don't think it's right, for children of younger age up till 5th standard to be exposed to online medium, or at least until they figure for how long. Should it just be for 1 hour, 2 hours, 2 times in a week? These are some of the things that we have perhaps at a government level, at an institution level, never thought of. Now, how quickly can we go around designing these policies?
As I really said, that initial responses were to a chaos. Now it is a crisis. So we really need to sit down and plan. We have to keep the pros and cons in mind. Why did the Karnataka government have to think about this? Because some moderation was perhaps not being planned. We have to plan the transaction also. What will be the curriculum? What will be the pedagogies to be taken care of? We have to keep in mind that the last child in the state is not left behind. We are talking about that we do not have those internet bandwidth. So what will be the alternative models for the young children also, and for the older children also? And as you very rightly said, that some kind of a time bar has to be there for screen time. So can we have some experiential learning assignments being suggested, where the child is more involved in doing and learning, use of five senses, which in where learning comes out as a churning of if of applying those five senses, which leads to more experiential and observation learning, where the parent then facilitates and there is some set of guidelines by the teacher.
Okay, let me go across to Seema Dharmadas, a parent who's joining us this evening. Seema, what is your own view as far as online teaching is concerned?
So see, I'm a parent of a 5-year-old, fifth standard student, 10-year-old, and as soon as the lockdown lifted, both me and my husband are back at work. Uh, my child continues to stay at home, and the online classes have been a blessing. Let me explain. The child is back to a routine. She's interacting with teachers. She's interacting with peers. Okay, it is necessary for me as a parent that she stays engaged. This entire focus on too much screen time, I was there to check it for the first 2 days. I could see that they have spaced it very well. The teachers have included a lot of interactivity. In fact, they have taken extra care to make sure that interactivity is brought in. All in all, as a working parent, it was a win-win for me. Now today, abruptly, overnight, the government has overthrown this only in Karnataka. Now, I understand the disparity of the urban and rural. It is there not just in Karnataka, it is there all over India. Even in an education system which gives education cess in every single transaction in this country, and 3.8 lakh crores is what we collect as annually, there is a huge disparity between a government school and a private school. We all acknowledge that. My child does not walk to school, a rural child does. My child has access to good internet and services, a rural child doesn't. But instead of scaling up and taking this up as a challenge and making sure that every child gets equal access, if not equal, some access, if not on internet, on TV or any other medium, which utilizes the manpower that the government already has. They simply pull off online education. They should make it elective. I would elect for it. Maybe a parent who doesn't have the space or the bandwidth may not.
Okay.
Hello?
Right. But Seema, how did your child, get adjust herself to the online medium? Was there any difficulty in understanding what the teacher is saying, or in terms of net bandwidth and availability? How did she adjust?
See, we are called the Silicon Valley of India, but only in name. We do have internet connectivity issues. It's a problem that we have perennially faced even when we were working from
Yeah.
home. We were having internet bandwidth issues. So it is not as smooth as a one-to-one in a school. Now let's forget about one-to-one in a school. That's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen for 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 4 years. I don't know. But that is how the situation is. It is like Dr. Gitanjali mentioned, these things are evolving. So current situation, her waking up in the morning, getting ready for school, taking down notes, doing assignments, even classes like yoga, gymnastics, dance, singing included in the curriculum. Beautiful job done by the teachers. Lot of effort gone in, and I think they have taken the CBSE directives very seriously and worked towards it. So the child has not had any problems. Initial hiccup was how to log in, how to log out. I think a child of third standard above can navigate that. But for very small children, it is difficult. I also spoke to several friends of mine who also said that, very small children, they want to do susu and they want to drink water and they are constantly interrupting the teacher. That happens, but older children are able to manage. Another thing is, this is not stuff I can anymore homeschool on, right? I'm not equipped as a teacher. If I were equipped as a teacher, I would be teaching. I wouldn't be working in an ad agency. I just am not. So the teacher is coming ready with her plan and content for the class. She's putting in all her expertise, her professional expertise, to take the entire class of 21 students with her. She's giving one-to-one attention that you can't get in an app. We tried a couple of these apps during lockdown. There was no teacher. Some videos are shown. There is no interactivity. Nobody's checking your work. I really didn't like the thing. So the first best option being in school, that's not going to happen now. The next best is to allow access to professionals online. If I can go to my gynecologist and have a talk with her online for any problem, my child should be able to get an education online. If online it does not exist, TV exists. Kerala has done it. Kerala is doing it successfully.
Okay, now
You have about
you make a fair point. You make a fair point, and like you said, yes, there is a problem as far as access for everybody is concerned. Some may be privileged enough to have that access, others won't, but that is the responsibility of the government, and perhaps they should use this opportunity to step on it and ensure that everybody gets that kind of access. I mean, I'm not too sure how practical that will be and how quickly that can be done. But let me also bring in Gulnar right now. Gulnar is a parent, her son is 4-year-old. What is your view, Gulnar? What about tiny tots? There's going to be a lot of complication there as well once parents begin to go to work. Even for little children, their daycare, their school is not going to be so easily accessible. So what happens then?
So the thing is, I'd also speak for working mums over here because I heard Seema and I heard Doctor as well. See, kids below 5 years, it is very difficult to get them in front of a screen and especially have that screen time for them because it's not like they're going to sit and want to watch somebody. Below 5 is something that they learn with observation. So they'd rather go and find a family member more interesting and observe what they are doing and learn from them instead of wanting to sit in front of a screen, which is something that is not going to entirely excite them because how many stories can a teacher tell? That same storytelling is today available on a Netflix or an Amazon. So having said that, the options are galore on television itself. And I think keeping them engaged with that sort of a screen time anyways has been a struggle for parents of toddlers. So I don't think this is. I mean, I'm not completely for the online schooling format for a child below 5 years. I understand over and above, you have your subjects, you have your curriculum. There is a structure. The child is, grown up enough and aware that okay, this is the amount of screen time I have. If there is playtime or reading time, there is a routine to their day. For a toddler, you don't know when the toddler is going to suddenly feel hungry, when they want to go to the bathroom. You have so many things that happen in that child's mind. The attention span is anyways just 10 minutes. So even for 10 minutes, if a parent tries to engage them with some activity, for us the best thing that can work out for all of us to be on the same page, my suggestion honestly would be the worksheets. So before the lockdown started, in fact, I was very grateful to his school because we put him in a Montessori and they were sharing worksheets which the parents could engage and spend that much time. And of course, all of us were sitting at home, but once the lockdown lifted, we're all going back to work. So I don't expect my husband to sit and, do those activities. But then again, there is a routine and a structure that we're all trying to form. So be it with the grandparents or be it with, the mother taking in charge or the father taking in charge for basically planning the whole day. So I think worksheets, observation are the skills that's something that a child will pick more with your family. And work-wise, it's time management for us parents of toddlers. But I'm not for online schooling format at all because it's not something that I even want to force my child. In fact, I was speaking to his teachers and I told them very clearly, I'm not enjoying forcing him in front of a screen and saying, okay, no, 10 minutes, listen to the teacher. She's going to tell you a story. Or, you take a break of 15-20 minutes. Irrespective, the parent is supposed to be with the child because below 5 the parents are usually there with the kids, unless it's a play school where all the kids used to play together and there was one teacher in charge of 10 students. We don't have too many options, but I suggest that worksheets, if that is something through emails or WhatsApp these days, which is something which is available with the schools, and if they share that, we have a little bit of a leeway and we can all kind of go on with the education system also that we choose for our students.
Okay, interesting viewpoint there, coming in from parents as well. Let me bring in Ali Said as well. Ali, of course, there is also a larger viewpoint that at some point we will have to bring in more of technology, the digital platform in education, at least for the higher classes. Where are we in that sense, and how can we make it easier, ensure that the children are involved, that there is interactivity, and it can gradually become a alternate tool to actual physical classes?
Okay, let me tell you a couple of things that which was happening much before this COVID situation came in. The first thing is that we are moving towards a connected learning community. So the COVID brought in much earlier. This was a 2020 vision of UNESCO, wherein people can learn from anywhere, any place, on any device. So what we are talking today is just the thing is the time gap is shortened. And today the teachers are trying very, very hard to see that they learn technology so they can deliver technology to a student. Now, there are so many models which are going around the place. I think we should allow people to innovate because necessity is a mother of all inventions. We should make people invent as much as possible. And technology is the only other medium which is live medium. Rest TVs, videos, and all are dead mediums. Anytime you can watch it, as Gulnar said, anytime you can watch on a Netflix or whatever, it's all dead mediums. That can just happen anytime that you want it. But you cannot wish away formal education system at all. Because formal education system is here to stay, and we cannot allow our population, the largest population, youngest population in the world, not to go to school for 1 full year or 18 months or 20 months or whatever it is. What we want is that if not school, then the online medium is the only other live medium, and the teacher should come online and should start interacting with the children and should become a personalized learning system. Because apart from the school where the teachers are interacting with the students, in the homes, a parent cannot replace a teacher. Like a parent cannot be replaced, a teacher cannot be replaced. So what the schools are doing today is they're trying very hard to educate those teachers, to train them digitally, to make that digital transformation. Now, if you look at our banking system, it started becoming digital about 10 years back or 15 years back. Now see today how robust our banking system is because of the digitalization. Same thing with education. It has to go through a transformation. If we cannot transform, we'll be dead. Therefore, what we should allow is the education system is getting transformed and people are innovating. Let them innovate as much as possible. Ultimately, we'll come out with a model that we'll all agree upon. For now onwards, we should not debate extensively saying that something is going to happen and something we should not let something happen. See, if like Gulnar said right now, if she doesn't want her child to be in front of the screen, she will take the child away from the screen. But some other parents would like to put the children in front of the screen. Whatever it is, let us allow the system to continue and see that the schools innovate and become modernized and become 21st century ready. That's my viewpoint.
Yeah, no, you're right. We have to innovate, we have to modernize, but the fact also is that right now, earlier panelist was mentioning, Dr. Kumar, that we seem to be rushing into it without a proper plan or a policy, and then we are re-looking at what we are doing, how to go about it. Parents have something else to say, the schools have another thing to say, the governments are unsure of the impact. To what extent should the exposure be? A teacher, how many students should there be in one online class? Things that perhaps, obviously, this is new, unprecedented. We never thought that we will be in this situation, and so now we have to quickly grapple with all of these questions and figure out the answers to them. But let me also, in fact, get Mr. Gurumurthy Kasinathan on that. Mr. Gurumurthy, these will be important points to focus on when you're not able to give the direct attention, a physical interaction experience to the student in a school, to a child, a youngster in the school. How do you ensure that, what the next best option is, that online on a TV screen you're able to still get the message across?
Yeah. First of all, I think all of us have to accept that we are in a very extraordinary situation, because if COVID hadn't happened, the lockdown hadn't happened, children will be going to school and the teachers will be teaching them and everything would be fine. But we have a lockdown, and this lockdown doesn't look like it's going to get sorted out in the next couple of months. The Karnataka minister, in fact, yesterday was reported as saying we will consider mid-August when to open. So then it's likely to open even much later. I want to share one information that in Philippines, they have taken a decision that they will open the school only after a vaccine is found. And everybody says a vaccine is 1 year away, 1.5 years away. So Philippines has said for the next 1.5 years, we're not going to have school. Now, in this situation, the choices are very few. Online learning or digital learning is certainly an important option that we have got. But we should not confuse online and digital. So online is when you have to have the student dedicatedly looking at an interactive device and interacting with the device really, rather than with a human being. And education psychology has enough work has been done in education psychology to say that young children should not be exposed to that medium because they don't learn that way. They learn more through experiential processes. Older children can learn in more abstract ways. So the wisdom right now is that, although I think Seema, the parents said that, even middle school children can learn through interactive mode and maybe her child is able to, but they say generally up to middle school level, interactive experiential learning is better than online learning. The government of Karnataka has banned online learning up till class 5, and I think nobody should disagree with that. It is required in the interest of the child. Now, the government has not said that digital learning should not happen. So then there are other alternatives. You can share digital material with the child can see at its own time and space and look about it. Now, one important thing I think we must understand is decisions about education should be made in the interest of the child. Now, I will not accept an argument that I have to go to an ad agency, therefore, somebody should take care of my child. I'm reminded of what Manuel Castells, a very famous sociologist, said. It seems schools are there because parents don't know what to do with the children. Now, that can't be a reason for the school to exist. Online learning cannot be required because parents don't have time for the children. The children's interest is most important. And therefore, we have to, as a society, if it's lockdown time, maybe one parent has to take leave and be available at home to guide the children. So digital methods, like one speaker said, we'd explore all kinds of alternatives. Online is the easy option, but we'd look at digital options for parents, digital options for siblings, and look at learning as a more collaborative activity in the home. There can be experiments in the kitchen, experiments in the living room, looking at learning of different subjects. So online learning is a very easy option. And I agree that apps is certainly no way to go. It's a complex issue, but one thing we can certainly do is build teachers' abilities to handle online mediums in a way that can actually support learning so that it's not rote memory, but through the digital mode, but actually more meaningful learning happening in the context that we are in. That's what I would like to say.
Well, thank you for all of those points, and some of those points I will pick up and take forward with our panelists for conversation. But very quickly, let's get our viewers in as well, and some of our viewers have called us to share what they think about this. Dr. Rajiv is on the phone line, calling us from Bengaluru. Good evening, Dr. Rajiv. What's your view?
I think the Karnataka government's decision is an extremely regressive and retrograde step. We should be promoting digital India, not banning digital India. There is a digital divide, but the way to address that is by building up rural infrastructure, not banning online classes from standard 1 to standard 5. And I think there is also a perception difference amongst parents. Some people want online classes, some parents don't want. So I think rather than a complete ban, we should leave the choice to the parents. Those who want to join online classes must be allowed to do so.
Okay, fair enough. My sense though is that once they have looked deeper into this and they have come up with a better model, maybe they'll bring it back. For now, they've decided to ban it because of obvious concerns that were there about too much exposure to the screen and the fact that obviously access was becoming a problem. Not everybody had that kind of access. So how do you ensure everybody gets it? I understand what you're saying, Dr. Rajiv. Thank you for calling. Shri Rajakumar is a professor on the phone line from Noida. Good evening. Go ahead, please.
Good evening, madam. Basically, just I have one query. Basically, how far this we are using the internet through online classes, how far it is good for the children? So it will be badly affect the children when we use the internet. So various research studies says that the internet exposure is not good. So much the radiation will affect their health, first thing. And second thing, if you take the consensus, the children is not only for the only in the rural areas, urban areas, they are even in the rural areas, many of the children. So basically, in case the parents both are working, so how come they will engage with the children to this one? It is becoming a lot of panic even for the parents as well as the children. And second thing, if you see as earlier the person who has shared from Bangalore, it is not good for the children for below 5 years. It is affecting very badly. Even my child, if she sits 1 day, 2 days, and moreover the children education is not only important, even co-curricular. Since the lockdown is there, the children is locked in the house. We are not even sending the children outside, and they need even the interaction. They should have the play and everything. The education is not only importing the education, and they must need to have the overall development of the child. And we have to bring out the talent. And the children will not concentrate. And third thing, like if they keep on watching the screen, so it will affect the eye health, and it will be a lot of pressure. And they will be keep on sending the assignment.
Yes.
And sorry, yeah, please.
Yes, Professor Kumar, I understand the concerns that you are raising. These are the concerns that the authorities will have to look at before they take a final call on how to go about it. Let me also bring in, thank you for calling, Professor Kumar. Let me also bring in Santana Krishnan calling us again from Bengaluru. Good evening. Go ahead, please.
My first opinion on this digital or online classes. Already the school where my daughter is studying, they have experienced, actually they have done 1 or 2 sessions. In our experience there in Bangalore, we have congested traffic as far as internet is concerned. Because of the lockdown, IT companies are working from home, and there is a chance that, we are getting poor connectivity. Now, point number 1. Point number 2 is the students who are studying online classes, they have a lot of distraction. There is no discipline. They sit in a seat or a bed or something and doing that, and that is not creating any sort of a concentration, which is happening in the schools. So this will be successful only if the government has a clear digital line internet connection properly and taking care of the decongested traffic. Second is that there must be a practice session given to these people. Students are not used to online classes in India. So, as in with the other global presence. So, my request is that there must be some training. I do not know how it will go well, But however, personal interaction cannot replay. I mean, you cannot replace a personal interaction on to total digital in nature. So that is my opinion. Yes, please.
Yes, thank you so much for calling and really sharing those views. In fact, what Santana Krishnan was saying, a lot of parents are actually facing this right now with their children. Poor connectivity becomes a challenge as well, which is something that I do want to address. But in fact, let me go back to Ali on a point that some of our viewers raised. Ali said, to what extent are we really ready to ensure that everybody has access to it? Now, in a lot of cases, schools or governments may not be able to implement this on a larger scale or allow it to happen because not everybody has access to internet and a screen that is good enough for a student to be glued to for several hours, especially in smaller towns and even in rural areas.
Well, let me ask you a simple question. Today, if the migrants want to migrate, they are asking online forms to be filled up. You think there's no access to internet? This is just a fad. We have been running our courses across the country, all right? And there's enough internet available. And today, every telephone in this country, okay, every mobile telephone in this country has an internet. So I think we are just becoming basic. We as India should innovate today and should support the schools to become digital. All right. See, tell me one thing. The teachers are trying to transform. As we heard at one point of time, that the only place a person comes up at after 200 years will be comfortable only in the classroom. Today, that is changing. So the entire India should support it. And when we support it, we'll become 21st century ready. And all our population will turn around and praise us in the future, saying that at least we did the transition which was required. I think all these other opinions, which screen time.
No, I think you're getting me wrong. We're not sitting here and dismissing it, Mr. Said. That's not the idea. The idea is to know just how far along are we to ensure that there is some kind of uniformity in this. Now, I know you say that migrants were booking tickets online, but many of them couldn't. We had hundreds of such cases where they didn't have access. And honestly, applying online for a ticket is very different from a child using the phone for his education, isn't it?
Let me just comment. Let me tell you that. See, today we can be skeptical about screen time, internet, all those things. When we try enough, I think everything will be provided. Maybe the internet providers will come forward and provide a better internet. Maybe the government or maybe some CSR companies will come forward and give tablets or whatever it is to the students to learn better. Because we are trying models, right? So what we must do is let the thing happen, let the water flow. Once the water flows, that's when you start innovating things. That's what is my point of view. I'm not being sarcastic about somebody booking tickets online or whatever it is. What I'm just trying to tell you is that every telephone in India has got internet in it.
No, I agree with you, and that this opportunity should be used. It is a pandemic. It's an unprecedented time. We don't have any other option. We don't know when normal school days will actually be, when we'll be able to hold those kind of days again. Two of our panelists had views. So let me first go across to Dr. Gitanjali Kumar, then to Mr. Gurumurthy. Dr. Kumar, first to you.
Yeah. I do not disagree with all my panelists. Whatever everybody is saying, some of them is experiential. Fine. But we really need to understand, taking the cue from my previous speaker, yes, the water needs to flow, but we have to ensure that the water flowing fills up a vessel. We can't let the water go waste. And when we are talking about education, we have to keep it in mind. There has been a dynamics in our country about learning. We first had that leaf learning, L learning, where there were no textbook. So from L learning to B learning, there were books, and from books to D learning, distance learning, then E learning, now M learning, mobile learning. So the dynamics in learning is there in front of us. The transformation will take time. It has to be more thoughtful, well more aligned, more inclusive in nature. And we need time to do it. I very well agree with Seema when she says the thoughtful school has very well planned for the co-curricular activities, but we need to have some common minimum program of learning plan across the country. We'll have to use the resources which Kerala as a state has used. CBSE has also come out with something called as Diksha as a portal where all the books are getting digitalized. NCRT also has its channel. IGNU also has its channels which are going to be utilized, but it has to be more thoughtful. Some cyber behavior, some e-ethics have to be taught to our children. We can't wait for the damages to happen and then carry out with some damage control. Our children are getting affected physically and mentally by overexposures. So moderation is something which also has to be incorporated when we are planning our learning through these pedagogies. This is my take. I don't deny what Seema has to say or what Gulnar has to say. So more blended form of learning has to be planned, keeping all stakeholders in mind. See, Sarkar Bazaar और सब वो कहते हैं ना सरकार बाजार और समाज सबको काम करना है. We have to have a conglomeration of all the stakeholders. Without that, it will go haywire as it is going. Somewhere it is like Seema is appreciating it. In some parts of the country, I don't see it happening. I travel all across the country doing training programs. I know in some parts of my country, I don't get the internet connection. I have to do my 5 hours of training without using my PowerPoints of videos. It is a challenge which I have faced in the month of January and February before the lockdown happened. So there are natural hiccups. There are real hiccups.
No, in fact, Dr. Kumar, you are absolutely right there, Dr. Kumar. In fact, even as you're speaking, we're facing a bit of a problem with your own internet connectivity and us understanding, your voice is breaking. In fact, I want to give 2 other examples here of this happening, and it's a reality that we will at some point hopefully overcome. But I know of parents here in Mumbai itself as well whose children in 4th standard and 5th standard are attending online classes right now, being organized by the school, and for the first few days it was a chaos. It gradually is now settling down now. Children are all talking at the same time. They couldn't hear their teacher properly. It was all a blur in between. Some couldn't log in. Not just children and students and their teachers. This is a problem that all of us are facing. This is a problem that the Supreme Court of our country today faced. There was a very crucial hearing that was being held in the Supreme Court today with the telecom players in attendance. A case about how much they have to pay the government. And there were so many technical glitches that the hearing kept getting delayed, and then finally they all managed to get the lawyers on board and the Supreme Court judge on board, and while the judge was giving the order, the connection just went off again and everybody had to wait for 5 more minutes for the order to be really pronounced. So this is a reality of our country today, and we are working on it. Hopefully everybody will find their way and technology will settle down, but let's not forget that for children it could just be a little bit more disconcerting. It can be disturbing as well. It takes a lot any which ways to get them to focus on a screen and focus on studies. And then if this adds to it, I'm sure it will be a challenge for the teachers as well as the parents. We're going to take a few more callers in just a bit, but let me go across to Mr. Gurumurthy, who also wanted to make a point. Go ahead, please.
I think when we keep saying digital is innovative and let's do digital and that's a new thing, we are forgetting a very important thing. One of the characteristics of the digital is it's addictive. Enough research has been done across the world, and we know from our own personal experiences that the digital is extremely addictive. And one important principle of addictions is that the younger you start the addiction, the more it will damage you. So they say, if you start smoking when you're 40, you're likely to be able to kick it off. But if you start smoking when you're 13, you will be a chain smoker and you will die of lung cancer. So that is, and it has research says that the digital screen damages the thinking of the young people, and the looking at the screen where things are jumping and dancing all the time prevents the child from actually developing focus and concentration. Learning is not simply looking at some screen and acquiring some information. Learning is transformation of the being, and there's a term called deep learning. deep learning and the digital screen have an element of conflict in them. So I don't want us to be gaga and start saying let's put everybody on the digital. The digital is required at some point in time, and therefore age is extremely important. I would really advise everybody on this panel and who are listening to the show, the older your children are when they get onto the digital medium, that's better for them, for their lives, for their own security, safety, happiness of their mind. The younger they do, the more likely they are to be addicted and get lost. That's the first point. Second point is there is enough studies across the country that have shown that internet penetration is abysmal. If in Bombay you're having blackouts, in Delhi there are blackouts, I'm in the Silicon City of Bangalore, and I can tell you the internet is terrible. So they found out across the country, 8% students have access to internet. So every phone may be a smartphone, doesn't mean anything, doesn't mean there is actually connectivity there. So if we simply go ahead and start celebrating online learning, we are going to greatly harm 90% of the population of this country, and we have to really think before we do that. Lastly, I want to say that I don't want to sound like I'm anti-online learning. We need to look at, we should not have a generic thing that applies to everybody across the country. Some schools, some parents are better resourced, and maybe there are environments, and as I said, age is very important. Above a particular age, online learning certainly can be looked at, but we have to be very cognizant of the fact that access to internet, access to digital devices, access to connectivity is extremely uneven in the country. So we need to look at case by case solution rather than one size fits across the board. And innovation can be a very bad thing. So let's not celebrate innovation in an unthinking manner. Drugs can be innovation. We can supply drugs to children and say that's an innovation. So everything that is new is not necessarily good. And I think the Karnataka government decision to ban it below class 5 is a good decision. We should welcome it.
Okay, I've got one more viewer on the phone line. Jill is calling us from Goa. Good evening. Go ahead, please.
Yes, good evening, ma'am, and good evening to the panel of guests today who have been there. With reference to this online classes, I would like to just share one crucial point that has happened, in fact, today itself. I have got two children. My youngest one is 6-year-old who's gone to 2nd grade, and my son is in the 6th standard. He's just 10 years old. His teacher just created a WhatsApp group on Sunday, in fact, and we were just asked the question whether we all would like to send the children to school first of all in July, to which I said no, considering the virus cases that's increasing now in Goa as well. And the second question was about online classes. So I clearly mentioned that I don't have the facility at this point, nor do I have, an extra phone where my son could sit down maybe, and, because I really didn't know how they're going to be conducting the online classes. So any which ways, the group was created, the WhatsApp group, and the joke of everything is that we just get two text images of the textbook, that was mathematics, considering the books also have not been given to the children, the textbooks. And next thing after that was just explaining what you have to do. And no doubt it was a very simple, being the first chapter, and it was a revision of the 5th grade, basically like on small greatest number and find the smallest number. But my question over here is, how can the child study with just a message that comes on in a group? There was no interaction between the teacher or the students, and it was a plain WhatsApp message that, that's come through. And yes, it is a Goa State Board. It's not a private schooling. Let me add this also, because there are private schools doing different kinds of training right now. But Goa State Board, and, with this kind of a facility, it really I didn't digest it well. But nevertheless, I got my son to just do what was sent on the message. So I don't know how it's going to help children. That's the irony of what's happening now.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much, Jill. I understand what you're saying. Thank you for calling us. Though the point about, the group that was created to ask you questions from the school is something that's happening in all states right now, because the center has asked the state governments to interact with schools, and the schools are then checking with parents on what their view is about reopening schools in July, and we'll have to wait and watch what the final call is by the authorities basis the feedback they get. I'm running out of time, but very quickly, Seema wanted to say something. Go ahead, please.
I had a couple of questions actually. One is, I would definitely request both Dr. Geetanjali and is it Dr. Gurumurthy? I'm sorry, I didn't get it. To please come and
Mr. Gurumurthy
audit my
Kasinathan,
child's class.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd request both of you to, even online is fine, please audit my child's class, because the entire conversation seems to be that, something is flashed on the screen and the child is watching, which is not at all how things are going. And I think that is where I have this concern that the government has not even checked around with schools on how they are becoming capable for the new system. Okay, so my request is to both of them, since they are, big experts in this field and will be driving this in a big way, not for just for Karnataka, also for students of all over India. So I don't think that the child is sitting glued to the screen, or that there is no interactivity, or that there is no writing happening, there is no drawing happening. I would request that they audit it. Second thing is, my request is the government of Karnataka. Dr. Gurmurthy's point is that one of us should quit and stay at home. See, now government of Karnataka has not rolled back income tax. It's not rolled back BBMP tax. It's not rolled back BESCOM bills or BWSSB bills. We have bills to tend to. We have other expenses. I don't want to open up my private issues over here, but we have issues and we need the money. So yes, I need to work, whether it's an added agency or not. Here, somehow the innuendo seems to be that the woman should take the call on, staying at home, which also I find offensive. That being the case, besides the point, I think if the government is ready to help me to, actually take that step of quitting and staying at home, I would love to do that. But otherwise, in absence of creche or any other activity to keep her active, she is constantly on TV or YouTube, which is really, I'm with Dr. Gurumurthy on that, which I am
Yes.
not for. Okay, so I would request the government.
I agree
Karnataka
with you.
to
There are
help me.
already, children facing and accessing enough of screen time, and it's really up to the parents how they want to handle it and to what extent they think it is okay. It's up to individuals how they, see their children accessing all of these gadgets and the internet. So that's being said, the fact of the matter here is, viewers, that the stakeholders will have to be taken into account. Parents, working parents, parents who may have access to internet, to good screens for their children, some who don't. Schools, whether they have the capability, and teachers who are skilled and trained to actually use this medium. And suddenly we've been thrown into this situation with no other option. So what now needs to be done is that for everybody to come together, for our experts to come together, for our digital technology platforms and those who are working in this field to come together, parents as well as teachers, to sit and make a plan of how we can use the online medium. The medium is available, and yes, it should be used, but how, in what sense, and how do we make the entire experience good for the children and helpful for the children is something that needs to be looked at on a larger basis. There may be a few schools, like Seema Dharmadas was saying, the school that her child goes to, who have cracked the code. But there may be many others who've never even thought about it till now, and will have to now start looking at it in a very, very rushed manner, if they have to ensure that students in their schools are actually also catching up with their education and are now being taught on a daily basis. So there are lots of things to be kept in mind, and at some point we will also have to start talking about the mental health of our students as well, of little children who don't get to interact with other children, who don't get to go out, who are perhaps more used to the environment of a physical class with their peers and the teacher right in front of them, and now have to make do with the screen instead. How should they be counseled? How should they be prepared for it is also something that the parents and the teachers in the schools will have to start considering. For now, it's a wrap on this conversation. We'll have lots more of these conversations. For all those whose calls we couldn't take, maybe next time. But thank you for watching, and thank you for calling here on the Urban Debate.